we're gonna try this again. Apparently I was sideways a few minutes ago. So at least I'm in the right room, because you never know where you're gonna go live. So I'm so excited and pumped to do this particular segment on the gene keys. Particularly, hey Kayla, particularly the sixth gene key, which is the gene key that we're in at this time. So when I first tried to do this video, I was sideways. Kayla was nice enough to let me know before all of you joined, so that you didn't quite have to do this the whole time, and then blame me for a crick in your neck later. So, hi Amy, I'm so glad you could join us. Oh, I bet you're so excited about vacation. Oh, I'm so excited to be here with you guys tonight. I do have some things on my little table here with me, so you may see me look down. I did bring some notes and some tools and stuff to just kind of share with you. And like I mentioned, I really wanted to bring in the sixth gene key today, because we are about midway through the transit of the sixth gene key. And the sixth gene key is the shadow of conflict, the gift of diplomacy, and the city of peace. And what's so fascinating to me is, as humans, like, conflict is almost an everyday thing for all of us, or almost all of us. And so it's something that we all struggle with, even if that particular key isn't in your gene key profile. And so before we jump in too much deeper into that particular gene key, the sixth gene key, I wanted to kind of start off with a little bit of basic information on human design and gene keys. Because if any of you have been, with me for a while on social media, earlier this year I had hosted a 5-day mini challenge, basically an introduction to both systems. And it was a high-level overview, and then it really hit with a lot of people. And so I've tried to incorporate different elements of both systems in a lot of my posts and social media and coaching and all the things, right? All the things. So if you're not overly familiar, this is a human design chart, okay? And so it breaks down our chakras, it breaks down the gates, and both our unconscious traits and our conscious traits, our personality basically. And it kind of, human design really helps us learn how to enter situations for ourselves. It helps us learn how to make decisions that are right for us based on a particular type. There's 4 types in human design. We have our unique strategies in human design, our authorities, and really a basic layer to how we make decisions for ourselves, and why maybe some of the decisions we made in the past didn't work because we didn't really make those in a place of alignment. So, and then the gene keys looks a little bit more like this. It's just a little map of different spheres, and the colors do mean something. And in the 5-day challenge, we covered the activation sequence, which is the 4 on the outside. So I put these here. And what I really want to talk about, and I was talking with Kayla about this earlier, was the human design and gene keys can be used together, and some people will use them together, and then some people won't. Maybe one of the systems don't resonate with you, and that is completely okay. I find that I am mostly drawn to the gene keys. human design is very powerful. It's very life-changing. It's a logical type profiling system that is based more on like certainty. Like you are this, right? And you do this and you be that. And it really just kind of helps us, as we enter our consciousness of kind of picking through and putting perspective around the hows and the whys and the what we're doing in our own human life. And the gates, the two columns on the human design chart, these gates here are the same as the gene keys. And so what happened in the summary form, and there are plenty of videos online that you can check out to get the full story on what really went down, but basically my summary of what happened is the founder of human design is Ra Uru Hu. And then we have a student of his, Richard Rudd, who worked and learned from Ra on human design. And he spent many years studying human design with Ra, and ended up taking human design to the UK and teaching and expanding and growing human design on that part of the world. And then as he started evolving, as we all do, he started realizing that there was more to this. And as he began to expand upon the human design system, he ran into a little bit of a resistance within the human design family. And then at some point needed to make the decision to hand the human design from, in the UK back over to Ra, and kind of went down this other path with the gene keys. And with the gene keys is kind of a, it's a growing system in a sense. You don't fit in a box. You don't have to do something this way. You don't have to be this way. And so for those types of personalities that don't want to fit in a box per se, who don't want to be told that they have to be a certain way, gene keys may be a little bit more appealing because you feel like you have a little bit more freedom. And it's not really the gene keys is more of a living transmission, right? As we evolve, the keys are going to evolve with us. And it just really helps us embrace the uncertainty of life, where human design is more of the certain aspects. The gene keys kind of brings in the uncertainty, and we get to work through the uncertainty, which is where we find our growth. And we're all wired differently. We're all human, sure, but we're all wired differently. And so it's okay that we, are resonating with something more than something else. And that's what makes us unique. And so I just wanted to bring that in because I have, some clients who really, really like human design, and that's awesome. And we can spend tons of time on human design and working that system for them, because that's what resonates with them. That's what lights them up. And I have some that are very gene key focused, and then I have some that embrace both like I do. And it's just taking the pieces that resonate from each system and putting them together. So I just kind of wanted to give that little bit of an introduction on both systems. And tonight I'm really going to focus more on the 6th gene key, the conflict shadow, the gift of diplomacy, and then the city of peace. And like just saying the word peace just brings such that power of peace, right? It's just like, I can breathe. And that's really what we are all looking for, right? I don't know if I said this, there might be some music playing in the background. I don't own any rights to this music. I think I have to give that disclaimer. I'm not even sure what this music is, but it's not mine. And if those of you who know me know that's not mine. So I'll stick to what I'm good at. So if you don't already have this book and you're interested in the gene keys, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you pick up this book. The next chance you get, I ordered mine on Amazon. I think it was like $20, maybe $25 for this book. If you are interested in the gene keys, you need to buy the book. Each gene key in this book is like 3 to 5 pages long, and it goes so deep into the shadows of each key and the gifts and the cities, and it just gives you such a wealth of knowledge. And you'll probably read each key a dozen times before it completely resonates with you, and it resonates with you when it's supposed to. So there's that. I also have and work with this deck of cards, the Wisdom Keepers. I think her name is Rosie Aronson, but each card is one of the 64 gene keys, and she gives a description of like what each one of these keepers bring using the hexagram, the I Ching 64 hexagram. So I totally, if that calls to you, grab it again. I got it on Amazon, and I just love the art, and I love the way she makes you question things and why you're thinking the way you are, and kind of pulls you out of your dream, state, in a sense of, what are you making up in your head at this moment? It could be about someone else. It could be about a situation. Like, where are you? And she pulls you out of that and asks you specific questions. And if you really take the time to answer those for yourself, you just kind of expand in the moment. So there's that. Conflict. So the shadow of the 6th gene key is conflict. And there's so many different areas where we all face conflict in our everyday lives. Conflict really comes into play when we begin to surrender ourselves or our will to the emotional systems that trap us and hold us hostage sometimes. And it's when we are repressed through our emotions, right? When we're emotionally repressed through feeling shame for something or guilt for something, maybe abuse that we experienced. Our entire being is disturbed by that feeling when we're repressed through these conflicts within ourselves. Like our aura is off, our internal being is just disturbed, and we can feel it, we know it, and it's almost like sometimes we're unconsciously addicted to conflict. Even though we crave peace at a deep level, sometimes it's like we're addicted to this conflict. We don't know what to do without it. Like, if we're not in conflict, if there's not some type of conflict, what are we doing? Like, am I being lazy? Am I, what I mean? Like, you're just like, what am I supposed to be doing with my time right now? I'm supposed to be fixing things. I'm supposed to, and so I think we kind of all can struggle with that pull sometimes. And conflict really it's all about bringing the light back through. You could see conflict as kind of this fog, this smoke, right? You can still see through it, but it's just kind of hazy, and it's there, it's in your face. And it's bringing that light through. It's cutting through the fog, through the smoke, and it's making your path through it. It's not running from it. It's not turning around and finding a new way, because there's not a new way. You have to face it. You have to take it, you have to own it, and you have to work through it, because you can see what's on the other side, and it is awesome. It is beautiful. You want to get there. You don't want to take a different route, because then you don't know what's on that way. So, it's all about bringing that light back in. And a good friend of mine and a mentor, Jennifer, has always told me over the years, it's about what do I learn and how do I grow? And you guys might have heard me say that a couple times. What do I learn? That's what the shadows are. That's what the conflict is what am I supposed to learn from this? How do I grow from this? I already smashed this down into the ground. I don't want to deal with this anymore. How do I once and for all get past this conflict? We're human. I don't think conflict will ever go away 100% for any of us, but particular conflicts can. Speaking up for ourselves, claiming our power back, we can move some of this conflict out and never let it back, and make room for the new conflicts, the new lessons, the new growth, the new, transformations that are coming. When when we're in conflict, these are really just opportunities for us to commit to this particular moment. When I'm in conflict, I need to stop dreaming about what life would be like when I'm not in conflict, right? Because the fact is I'm in it right now. So I need to commit to this moment. I need to accept that I need to face this deeper path of where I'm at. I need to commit to seeing this through so that I can learn from it. I can move through it. And relationships are all about lightening our path to like opening our hearts. Our relationships are key to our growth. Every relationship we're in has a lesson for us. It is a mirror of our internal dialogue. Our relationships are just a reflection back to you on what you're dealing with internally, whether you're realizing it or not. And so it's really embracing the relationships that we have and using them for our own growth. Because through that, then the others in these relationships will also be able to grow. They'll be able to evolve with you. And, you know, there's two different types. Those who are in the shadows of conflict, there's two different types, right? There's the repressive nature. There's the peacemaker. It's, what can I do to make everybody else around me happy? What can I do to completely avoid this conflict at all costs? What can I do to stop it before it even happens? Well, then where do you fit into that? Where do you fit into making other people happy all the time? And I personally am and have been a peacemaker. It's like, oh no, like how can I fix this? How can I stop this from happening? I already know it's gonna happen. But do we know what's going to happen? Like, why are we stressing ourselves out about something that hasn't even happened yet? And that's a lot of it, is we just create conflict that never actually happened. Or it happened in your head. You're stressed, your heart's beating, it's racing, you're sweating, you're pissed about something that hasn't even happened yet, because for you internally it happened, right? So it's pulling away from that feeling. It's trying to be aware of those moments. And with our relationships, the people in these relationships can kind of help us see that we're doing that. You also have the reactive side of the conflict. And these are those people that their emotions are just right there. Like they're not even under the surface, right? They're just waiting. They're waiting and waiting to attack. It is so reactive. It is so in your face. And you don't know what to do, because it's a sure way of creating conflict, right? Because with the reactive nature, and I'm sure we all know those kinds of people, they're just in your face. They're looking for a reason. Like they can't internalize before they start spouting off what's going on for them. And so you almost always know what's going on with the reactive people, and you almost want to say, like, are you even rational right now? Do you realize what you're doing? Do you realize what's happening? Because most of the time they don't. So you've got either the internalizers, where they take everything in, and you've got those that are always kind of attacking, right? And it's not that either one of those are more wrong than the other. And it's not even that shadow work is wrong. So I don't want anybody to correlate shadows with bad, because it's shadows to me, and this came to me when I was doing the challenges. The shadows are the raw human nature. It's our raw form. It's us and the human world. That's where we're at. But like, it's part of it, right? It's the raw moments of life that we're being tested. And then you have your gifts, and it's kind of like, as you move into the gift side of your gene key, which in this particular one is diplomacy, right? It's kind of where you shed some of the layers, right? You're not completely. I never think that once you hit the gift, you're completely done with a shadow, because it can creep back in. We're human. It'll sneak back in a different way. We still have lessons to learn. And so the gift, the city is also, it's an essence. Like, it's like think of the most sovereign being you could possibly be, and that's kind of like the city of each gene key. It's like the essence, it's the goal, it's the whole enlightened experience. It's almost like when you hit the city, you're almost not human anymore, right? It's kind of like at the end of your life when you start hitting these city moments. And this is my personal take on this. It's almost like you'll be human as you hit these cities, right? As you get to the essence of each key. But for how long? Once you hit that city, it's just like peace, right? So anyway. So I wanted to bring in a couple of examples for conflict, some things that we deal with on a daily basis. And as I bring in some of the human design aspects here, you may find conflict with people with a lot of closed centers, because unless they know what they are experiencing, unless they are in tune and aware of what's going on within themselves, they may not realize that they are completely shut off and they're not receptive as someone with an open center, because they already have this fixed center. It is. They've got to learn how to work with it. And grow through that experience of having those fixed centers. Another example. So a fixed center or a defined center is colored in. The white ones here are open centers, okay? When you have an open center, you are able to take in from others who might have a closed center or a defined center. So if I'm around somebody who has a defined heart center, I have this willpower, I have this drive to take something to completion or to move forward with something that if I'm by myself, I would never do. And I find that a lot when I'm around my husband. He has a defined heart center. And so when I'm around him and there's a project or there's something very passionate going on, he has a very strong drive for completion, a drive to do things, a drive to make things happen, or for somebody to see his point of view. And so when I'm around him, I take that in. I'm very receptive to that energy. And when we're not around each other, or when I've been around him for a certain amount of time and he leaves, I'm exhausted from it. I need to just take a moment and just chill and kind of decompress. And it's different for each center. But for those with like all closed centers or a lot of closed centers, or hell, even just a couple closed centers, whatever the centers are, right? Whatever those chakras are, those centers, you know, it's important for us to know that those centers are fixed for that person. And it's important for them to understand that those centers are fixed and that they kind of have to do a little bit more work in the relationships that they're in. Another example of conflict, for an example that I came up with, was I tend to go on the defense. Anything my husband says, especially in the past, I wouldn't say it so much like this now, but anything in the past, you know, it could be anything like, you don't look like you feel well. And then I would just go into complete defense mode. Well, why? Why do I not look good? Like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Like, why would you say that to me? How dare you say that to me? Like, gross. Or it could be like your boss at work, like, I need you to do this. Well, why? You know, like, what am I not doing? What did I do wrong? How did this happen? Like, but I feel like I do everything that I'm supposed to be doing. Like, how did I miss this? It's just being aware of what's going on, right? It's being aware and noticing those moments when we're getting defensive. And sometimes in the right relationships, you'll be able to, they'll tell you, they'll explain that to you. Depending on the person, they might bring it to your attention rather abruptly, but you know, they give you that feedback. Not feeling supported can also bring in quite a bit of conflict. So for me to be able to share my feelings, to be vulnerable, I've already gone through 10 scenarios in my head that have created 5 zillion different ways that this could go wrong. The conflict that's coming at me from 20 different angles. And it hasn't even happened yet. But just the fear of not feeling supported in what I believe in, not feeling supported in something that I need to share or get out, that can create conflict. And it's like those moments when you're like, I'm done being the peacemaker. I'm just gonna get it out. I just need to focus on me. It's not easy. It's not as easily done as it sounds. And anybody who experiences those types of emotions or feelings, you'll get it, But as we work through these experiences, then we're able to move into the gift of diplomacy, right? And diplomacy is creating communication through the conflict. It's acknowledging the conflict. It's maybe you're at a peaceful place, you're at a calmer state, and somebody's coming at you, right? And you see it, man. You already feel the energy. You see it's coming, but yet you're still able to maintain this peaceful state, right? And you're not shutting down. You're not retreating when you're faced with this situation. You're able to drop your defenses. That's really what the diplomacy feels like almost. It allows the conflict to flow. It allows it to flow so freely that it's able to soften the walls that you've built up. And you can let things in. You can be more receptive to the environment that you're in, to the people around you. You're able to be receptive to the lessons playing out in front of you. And it's not always your lesson. You're the catalyst for their lesson. You're at a calm state. You see that they're getting unraveled. You see that they're facing their own turmoil. And so maybe this is their lesson, right? And so it's just acknowledging that. Diplomacy is when you're not protecting yourself from your emotions. It's giving yourself the space to see your raw humanness and experience that for what it is. It's more than just speaking the right words and placating people. Diplomacy flows from us, from our auras. It flows through us and into others. And it really brings about this emotional maturity, this emotional intelligence that people are so attracted to, because you're able to respond instead of reacting, which is something that very many people can do. I can assure you that. That kind of goes from the repressive to the reactive, right? And being in the diplomacy gift, being in that state, it requires us to... It requires like subtle effort. It requires effort and conscious effort. It requires it as it's kind of juggling through this duality around us. And some examples would be, so one example, so my husband and I have been together for 15 years. And it hasn't always been the easiest. We've had our issues, like every marriage, every relationship does. But there was this moment when the conflict just kind of fell from me, and I had to make a particular decision. And, in this decision, I just knew. And I was so calm about it. Like, I just knew of all the fears that have come up in the past, of all the fears that kept me from making decisions that I needed to make for myself. I had reached this state where I knew without a doubt what decision I needed to make. And I did. And it changed my life. And it's just taking these opportunities as they come up. It's embracing the moment. It's embracing these opportunities so that you can take the next step on your path, so that you can move forward. You could even take this state of diplomacy into your work life, right? And it's staying above the work drama. It's staying above the fog of negativity and complacency. And it's just kind of giving people that space to share what they need to share, but not reciprocating. It's not about reciprocating. That's not helping anyone, right? It's kind of taking that in and then just giving them this peace about it, or letting them get it off their chest so they can experience that peace. And I mean, there's so many different areas that, you know, I'm sure you guys can imagine where that could play out and change situations. So I think it would be something worth delving into. Where can you see diplomacy playing out in any area of a relationship or your life at this time? Really think about that. And as we move through the gift of diplomacy, right? Then we, at some point on this journey, we're going to reach the city of peace, of just pure peace. Like, again, just saying that word, I'm just kind of like, I can breathe. And peace comes to us when we allow life to flow through us, when we're able to flow, go with the flow, when we're able to do this without resistance. And this resistance comes in through fear, our fear of the unknown. What could possibly happen, right? And we don't know. I mean, we can imagine a million different ways, but the more we let this fear grip us, the less we're able to grow and move into these higher frequencies, these higher vibrations. Peace comes to us when our boundaries have dissolved, and that's kind of coming through the conflict. Conflict comes up when either we don't set boundaries for ourselves, or maybe these boundaries we've set are so high, these walls are so high of boundaries that we're not allowing ourselves to experience life for what it is. We're sheltering ourselves. And so you really have to kind of come internally and kind of figure out, how can I dissolve some of these walls? How can I bring them down? How can I allow myself to freely accept peace into my life? And when we're able to do that, your presence can simply change the dynamics of a room, of a relationship, of a situation. Once you've reached this level, your energy just walking into a room can shift an entire experience, not only for yourself, but anyone else near you. And to really get to the city of peace, it's experiencing an awareness like you've never experienced before. Like, it's not even something you can imagine right now. Your whole being will feel different. Your body will feel different. Things will change. Your relationships will change. The conflicts, and I don't know if you can see that on camera, the conflicts that are happening around us right now, they're going to be so different, if non-existent altogether. And so the 6th gene key is really probably one. It's a very big key for just the human race altogether, because our life is so full of conflict. And I actually have the 6th key in my Venus sequence, which is and you can't see that, so it's my attraction sphere. Go figure. I'm gonna remind myself that doesn't mean I'm attracting conflict. But so this key is very, very powerful to me. It is in my chart. We are in the transit of the 6th gene key. And that was something that I really wanted to share with everyone on this first segment of Gene Keys. You know, I implore that you really kind of take some time for yourself during this time and kind of note down, like, where do you see the most conflict at this time in your life? Why do you think you're experiencing the conflict in these particular areas? And then what would life be like in these particular areas if you were able to reach this level of diplomacy, if you were able to reach this level of an open-mindedness, of dropping the fears of, well, what if they don't like me? Or what if I upset them? Or, God, what if I say the wrong thing? Or, oh my God, what about if on this video I say something I didn't mean to say? Or nobody else will watch another video of mine because my hair wasn't brushed before I jumped on here. Or, like, I could come up with a million different conflicts in my head right now. And it's taking that challenge. where can you step above it? And what would life look like if you could embrace the peace? What would that look like? Just imagine for a little bit of what that would look like. And if you don't already journal, and maybe journaling isn't your thing, and that's totally cool, but I find that journaling helps me navigate through some of this. And not just writing down in my journal, but even on my phone. I'll do voice recording. I'll be driving in the car and I'll just start recording my thoughts, things that are coming through to me, situations that I have blown completely out of proportion in my head as I drive into the office trying to talk myself off the ledge, or on my way home because I don't want to deal with the dishes. I don't want to deal with my screaming children. I don't want to have to take care of anybody else but myself. And I don't even want to take care of myself. So it's like, how can I step above this? How can I embrace what's happening right now in my life? What do I learn and how do I grow? And that's what I'm going to leave you with. So take some time and really think about this key. We'll have it for maybe another day or so before we move into the next gene key. And contemplate on this a little bit. And I'm curious if any of you do have the 6th gene key in your chart. I'd love to know where. Feel free to reach out to me. And I'm very curious on what this gene key means for you. And I actually have a little survey out there. If you're interested in filling out, it's like 10 questions. None of them are required, so you can skip over some of them if you want to. But I'd be really curious from each of your perspectives on this particular key and the conflict, the diplomacy and the peace of it, and how that intertwines into your life today. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. I've loved sharing this with you, and I can't wait to hear from you. So I love each and every one of you. Thank you for setting space for me to come in and talk about this. Mwah.